Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
Michael, Palmer, 3:30 is good. There's a guy there, he's only there until 5 o'clock, so that'll get us out of 4. We've got an hour if there's any issues after that. I said we'd do that separately. I just want to focus on the technical, I want to focus on the technical stuff. Yeah, so I spoke to him this morning and said, let's do it as 2 separate trips. We'll do technical today. Oh, he is coming too? Yeah. Oh, good. I want him to go. I want my Palmer to go. I want the camera there. I want my Roper to go. Yeah. Mike says I want a camera there. My Roper will just... Oh, lads, it's a big iPhone.
Waiting for them to go live. Let's watch the game and be ready to talk about stuff. Hey, hello. Hey, we're here live at the World Championships in the women's division. Mexico, as we join you late here with commentary, Mexico has just put their first point on the board. They are down 2-1 here versus Sweden in our last game of the day. I'm Brian Jones here with David Price. Some great action here in the women's division at the World Ultimate Championships. The clouds have gone away for a second. We had a little bit of sunshine. It was raining here earlier today. The pitch is still in great condition. and we have ourselves a good one. Sweden, though, has gotten off to a fast start, David.
Yeah, some keys in this game as we watch the Swedes take a 2-1 lead is that they're very tall in comparison to the Mexicans. They will take advantage of this at every opportunity, and speaking to their coach, they weren't really sure what the Mexicans would offer. But when I spoke to the Mexicans, they were very sure that that's exactly what the Swedes would be looking for, the high advantage. So they are going to try and take advantage of their speed, which is something that they think they're going to have on the Swedes.
As we go back into the game here in the action, Sweden with the disc going the other way, and we talked to some of the coaches before the game. Coach of Mexico, James Evans, did say exactly that as we talked about the height difference. Thought it might be of a concern as Sweden's moving the disc down the field. Looking to Hovgaard, now looking deep, shooting for Eklund. Eklund wide open in the end zone, reels it in, 3-1, Sweden leads. A good start here for Team Sweden in the women's division.
And straight away we were vindicated there, hitting a deep receiver, striking into the end zone. And I think we're going to see many more plays like that. A couple passes, getting a handler into a power position and taking that deep shot on.
Yeah, as we get going here in the opening moments of this game, and happy to join you here in a little bit of technical difficulties as we're ironing out everything in the second day here at the World Ultimate Championships. Mexico started things off here. They're down 3-1. We've got a couple of team members to really focus on. Two of them to really point out here. Ana Paula Vizcaya, one of the fastest women in ultimate period, according to Coach James Evan. And then when we take a look at Emilia Quarenta, she's actually from the U.S. and playing for Madison Heist. And she'll be kind of be giving a veteran presence in, as Coach said, doing whatever they need. So here we go, Mexico on offense. Looking to swing the disc, and we see a Z on the field. Right now, a zone for Sweden.
Yep. When speaking to the Swedish coach, I asked what sort of defensive pressure they'll be trying to put on the Mexicans. And he said there are various zones that they want to try out against this team they know very little about. And here we see what looks like an arrowhead and immediately getting a block on the Mexicans, who are now under pressure and potentially could give away a break.
Sweden with a chance to go up 4-1 in the opening moments. Looking for Uda Claren as a turnover happens, and Mexico will get it right back. The zone will continue. 3 defenders around the disc, 2 underneath and 2 deep. A lot, very tightly defended behind. It looks like this cup. A lot of pressure, forcing a lot of throws early on here for Mexico. Quintana has the disc, changes fields. Looking for Mojica. A lot of stagnant movement. Not looking to move the disc all that quickly, although that was something that Coach James Evans talked about, as Quarenta's going to shoot it deep, have a matchup downfield behind the receiver. It can't make the grab. That was intended for Vizcaya. And you saw the afterburners she can put on. You can prove that while she is one of the fastest women in ultimate, Quarenta just didn't put enough into it to make sure it got there.
Yeah, it looked like Quarenta released that a bit high. Therefore, it sat in the air a bit longer than she wanted to, and not in the right direction that she wanted to either. Now Sweden challenging the Mexicans for this break.
Slicing and dicing. They haven't had much of a problem on offense. They've been their own worst enemy. Now going deep once again for Regnell. Pulls it in just before the end zone, looking for another pass to seal the deal. Trying to go up 4-1. As Foulbeck has the disc. Looking to the end zone, and they find the target. It's Claren for the score. Uda Claren actually playing in the under-19 division several years ago in Lecco, Italy. Got the chance to do one of those games. But as a surprise, she was playing in the open division. Sweden did not send a women's squad to U19s. And let me tell you, she could play with the boys. No problem, no doubt about that. Very impressive athletically.
Yeah, very nice goal there. I actually was quite impressed by the initial deep shot. Not a single pivot, just thrown straight from the flick. Well read and placed very well in exactly what you'd hope from the Swedes, above their receiver rather than a very low and pingy deep shot, which would probably work in the Mexicans' favor. Well played there to go up 4-1 and break the Mexicans once more.
So as we get into the second day of the tournament, Sweden's actually in a good position here to make it on to quarterfinals, and that was a goal they stated. They're 1-1 heading into this game. Mexico trying to get on the board with their first win of the tournament. They're 0-2, having some troubles early on with some zone and some height. And they're a young team looking to improve and get better, and I think in both of these teams, and it's pretty common for you just to hear people, they want to play for each other and come out in this tournament and try to learn from it. Looks like we have a timeout on the field as Mexico's going to group up and figure out what to do next. They're down 4-1 here in our last game of the day, and with this coverage of the World Ultimate Guts Championships 2016. We get to be in David Price's home country. Not quite your hometown, but not too far away. So you have all the rain gear ready. You were prepared for this type of weather?
Entirely. We were here maybe a few weeks ago and it was beautiful weather, but last year we had a tournament here where the Saturday was called off due to weather like we had today, and the time delay we had earlier today was actually probably very well timed. Only pushed us back an hour, and the fields here will not struggle in any way. Here for the Watford Football Club training grounds, they're very well looked after lawns, and in fact I think these pitches here on pitch 1 and 2 will be rested this afternoon to make up for that wet weather.
And we're hoping that the weather will certainly hold off as long as possible, but very doubtful, as some of our producers have actually chosen to go with garbage bags over sandals. Not necessarily ready for the weather here. As the pole goes off, Mexico will look to rebound, see if they can get back into this game. One of the things talking to the coach before the game is that they try to model a lot of their offense off of the Buzz Bullets. Here we'll see a little bit of a different formation. Usually with the Buzz Bullets, it's going to be a 6-1 stack with all of the resets pushed downfield and a lot of movement right off the bat. See a zone look yet again with the defenders not necessarily looking at the disc. And turnover, Sweden going back the other day really quick. A point block. And the tying of the shoe, I don't know if there's a foul call there. Sometimes just making sure your footwear is tight is more important than resolving the foul. Play resumes. And some talk here as we see a violation on the field. And we'll be just a moment as everybody figures out to get back to their spot. Bit of a breeze developing here later on in the day. It was pretty rainy earlier, but pretty still. Disc being swung around. Underneath to Eklund. Up the line towards the end zone. Quick flip. Puts it in, and Sweden goes up 5-1 with another break.
From our perspective here, it looked like the Mexicans were definitely pushing their men under, which would be a very savvy move. They don't want to get beaten deep. But the Swedes took exactly what was given, taking on some short options and eventually getting that little flip into the end zone, making for another easy goal.
Yeah, early on here, Mexico seems a little bit outmatched, especially off of the turnover. David, is there any options that you would go to in this moment to try to change things up if you're Mexico?
I'd potentially go for more of a horizontal stack look and take advantage of the fact that your cutters are quick and fast. Sorry, that's the same thing, but they're quick and can change direction very, very much quicker than these taller girls. So something like a hoe stack, where you're now isolating players in both the deep and undershots and taking on those really quick disc movements. So maybe some sort of weave off the front front three or front two would open up space for them and allow their cutters to get free.
Well, as you said, there is a difference between, at least raw speed and quickness and agility, and when you have a smaller team, that's usually the way you can go. Let's take a look as Mexico gets ready to try to score. Moreno to Quarenta. Quarenta will swing the disc. Back to Morena. Now in the middle of the field. Tejada. All of a sudden, Quarenta going to shoot it deep. Has a couple of options. Too far. Back to Team Sweden.
I think they need to stop pulling these deep shots out and actually attack the zone more from their handler position. They've got that speed and agility like we mentioned, and it's a way in which they can take advantage of the zone, which can be caught very on its heels often if you just attack through. So you throw the disc and then move straight away to get the disc back again. Now the Mexicans also pulling out their own zone, trying to disrupt the Swedish offense as they now have actually broken through initially, now up to their own break mark.
The Swedes looking to try to break through. Quarenta playing the deep position here in the zone. And an awkward throw leads to a turnover. Mexico going the other way very quickly. Quarenta doesn't have an option. Going to try a loopy forehand for the goal. Up in the air, caught for the goal. Mexico puts their second point on the board. Quarenta with a deep shot.
And that style of play of once you get a turn, move quickly is exactly going to play into the hands of Mexico. Unable to let the Swedes set their defense and push the disc forward as quickly as possible to isolate players in the end zone who are much quicker than their defenders is the way that Mexico are going to get themselves right in this game.
Fast break is a very powerful tool, and like you said, the defense is out of position, doesn't have too much time to react, and sometimes when you're the underdog, which with your new team like Mexico, that might be the best option you have. Sweden in control of this game, up 5-2. As the offense will try the field for the third. I have to say that despite all the rain, these pitches have held up very nicely. There's a few divots out there, a little bit of browning, but we see really on the sideline, as you're pointing it out, David, there's a lot of care that goes into it, and I just, are all the grass and lawns like this in London? Or is it just a matter of that it rains so much?
Don't be fooled. This is a Premiership football ground. They're not all like this in London. And we see now a turnover there for the Swedes, potentially giving the Mexicans a chance to break back.
Slicing throw going through the air, and that's going to be blocked and tipped, falling to the ground, and Sweden going back the other way. And immediately going to the end zone, no fear, putting it deep.
Yeah, huge lefty backhand there from number 18, who's not on our roster. Maybe I've got the number wrong, but that was a lovely little put. Sadly, is too far out of the reach of the receiver. It was 88, Alex Harned.
Mexico now going the other way. They've had a couple of break opportunities here on this possession, and this going deep as well. In position, makes the catch. It's going to be Vizcaya once again. Dishes it off. Finding loose a lot. So stoppage on the play. Mexico just 5 yards outside the end zone looking at the doorstop, and they're going to shift to a center stack. And there's going to be a timeout called by Mexico. They want to make sure they secure this one. And going into the timeout, if you were Coach James Evans, what are you trying to focus on here? You've been a player in these types of moments, in these types of games. What is your mindset in this timeout? What are you trying to take care of?
Strangely enough, it would be don't score. It would be just keep the disc and try and find some flow that way. I would much rather a reset happen than we take on a risk and turn over. it's a horrible situation to be in because, I mean, I can't remember the exact statistic, but near the red zone, your percentage of scoring is incredibly low, especially in a dead disc situation like this. So I would be looking to reset the disc, potentially get on the break side so that they can strike straight away for a goal that way.
Well, you heard it there. We'll see how Mexico reacts coming out of the timeout. Again, this is our last game here on Monday action, forgetting what day of the week it is already. That's what vacation does to you.
That's what Game 7 of the NBA does to you.
Yes, yes. David's alluding to the fact that Team USA and a few of the members, including me and Evan Lepler,
kids about cancer
were up till 4 a.m. last night,
Frisbee
making sure to watch games.
Join us and speak up.
In the law court building on their for sure campus. Evan was surprised when I told him, just look it up on Google Maps, and he said, law court building came right up, 2-minute walk. And I thought we were going to get busted by security going into it because they found what we were doing, and they said, go have fun, guys.
British people are friendlier than they may appear on the TV. We're not all bad guys.
I don't know, David. I haven't made my mind up about you, but I'm willing to give you a chance. As we come back into play, about to restart, looking for the end zone. And they find an open receiver, not in. Quick pass high, hanging. And some question now. It was caught. Was it in? If it was a sensational play, and they're going to argue about it and discuss. And this is where the role of the game advisors could really come into play. This kind of new, the expanded powers we've had for the game advisors, right, David?
Yeah, initially when they were brought in 2014, they were just given as rule advisors. However, here and as of last year, they were able to give more active calls that aren't binding.
And right back as Mexico turns it over on the out-of-bounds call. They're going to get it on the goal line after a mis-executed catch. That was number 10, Sarah Nilsson, with the drop. Now Mexico looking to punch it in, trying to get back in this game. They're down 5-2. This one would keep it close. And a drop right away, 2 straight drops. Sweden off to the races, and then they have liked to strike fast and use their height well. Argby. And a point block gives it back to the Mexicans. Number 3, Maria Castillo. And rushing the throw, that one's not going to make it. Wikochia throwing that one short of her target. Sweden back to it. Disc hanging in the air, caught over the top of the stack. Lindroth now going deep. Just no care in the world, putting it as soon as they get the chance.
Like we talked about earlier, they are going to be looking for these deep shots. And I can see some of the Swedes on the sideline being like, why didn't she bid? Well, probably because it was just a bit too far, and the execution of both teams here is laying them down slightly. Mexico now with another chance to get another point on the board.
After the turnover, and there's something powerful, don't you think, about you expect your teammates to bid. You know the pass is going up. You know it might not be perfect. How do you feel about that type of strategy?
I think it's just the trust in the player, and different players have different radiuses of being able to catch and throw in, right? And there are certain players which you know, like, why is she not bidding when she's used to bidding, or why is she not bidding because that disc may be too far of her reach, out of her radius. And I think that's what the players here are a bit suspicious of. They're like, normally she would be doing that. Well, maybe she didn't feel comfortable with that. And, well, now Sweden have the disc back anyway, but that can change a game right there.
Yeah, multiple turnovers in this point. Each team really trying their hardest not to score, almost, it seems. Disc goes up, hanging in the air. Wide open receiver. 65 Ekborg. Looking at Lindquist. And run through D. There's Vizcaya once again using her speed to catch up through, and she's going to go deep right away. She's pointing for it and calling for it. Mexico's going to go ahead and work that. Castillo now floating it up. One-on-one matchup. Vizcaya comes out underneath, but Melkanova had great position downfield. And Sweden will once again get another chance to punch it in. I think we're almost to double-digit turnovers, and Sweden will take a timeout. Kind of take some moments to regroup here after the multiple turnover point. I hope you're enjoying all of our coverage here. I'm Brian Jones with David Price here at the World Ultimate Guts Championships. Like we like to call the World Ultimate Championships. As we're covering that section of the tournament. Here's part of WIFDIF's coverage. You can find us out on Twitter. I'm Brian Jones at @no_look_scuba. If you want to give some comments about the game.
And for me, if you want to get in contact on Twitter, it's @David_Price, PRYCE. Teams now huddling up. You can see the Swedes all talking together. The Mexicans keeping it to the 7 on the field. I think both teams will want to cut out some of the execution errors and just try and, well, one, score and get the next point on, so we can really see some riveting ultimate.
When we talk about Team Sweden, their team that has been formed since middle of last summer when they took the team to Euro Championships, and then they had a couple of preliminary tournaments. Went to Tom's tourney, got second in that amongst a lot of other European teams. And so for them, you know, the sky is, and what they're aiming for is quarterfinals and trying to get there. But I don't think that they would be disheartened if they fell a little bit short. They seem like a team playing for each other. Mexico, on the other hand, is kind of made up of one of the club teams, Malafarma. They got first choice, whether or not they wanted to play, and so there's a lot of chemistry here on this Mexican team. They come out in a zone, trying to poach the lanes here, knowing that, and not a bad choice here with Sweden trying to throw it deep. Turnover, going to give back the Mexicans the D. Get the disc on the end line, quick flip, and they're going to break to bring this game within 2. Mexico 3, Sweden 5.
And there was that quick break that we mentioned earlier. Mexico taking advantage of the turnover in the short field much quicker. The static disc not really working in their favor. They had that timeout and it didn't really pay off for them. However, once they got the D near the end zone, could move the disc quickly and punch in the goal.
After a few moments here in the game, as we got started, we joined late, but it looked like Sweden was going to run away with it. What's changed here in the last few minutes? Is it Mexico regained their composure? Has something changed tactically that you see on the field?
I think Mexico have just clued into what the Swedish want and are pushing them under to stop them taking on the deep shots. Definitely in the first few points you saw more of the Swedes taking advantage of their height and using their deep space more efficiently. I would say now the Mexicans have got into that and are taking away that option, and therefore getting more run-through Ds. We've seen very many more blocks and run-throughs from the Mexicans than the Swedes. And then on offense, they've started to tighten up and take on exactly what you would expect them to. This very much quick-moving, fast-paced ultimate that will give them goals.
Sweden back on offense. Here up 5-3. In more zone defense with Quarenta in the back. Sweden. Sweden trying to work it around. Finds the opening. And a great bid going to the ground. Lisa Fallbeck. Quick pass. Finding Ekval. Now back. Looking around for a Claren. Moving it very fast. Torna. Going through the zone, through the middle. Sweden has seemingly having no problems, very patient, working it up. A little bit of an errant pass, and that's going to lead to a turnover. More mistakes here from Team Sweden, giving Mexico another chance to bring it within one. Quick flip, 40. 40 has looked to put it deep. This time goes to the more conservative option, looking for Castillo. Back for Moreno. 40. Up the line. Now back around. Mexico doing a great job here, performing the dump swing. 40, the hammer, trying to bring it within one, too far. What do you think about that throw choice?
I think the choice was on. I think the execution was probably lacking. There are definitely an option there on the break side. But Mexico doing a very good job of, as Brian mentioned, dumping and swinging, keeping that disc moving from side to side, and gaining a lot of yards. We go all the way up to the brick here. But now Sweden doing the same back. They've currently, and a great grab there from the Swede in the middle. This sort of very poachy zone look from the Mexicans is slowing down the Swedes initially, but they're allowing them to come through the middle, which is breaking them straight away. And the deep shot's up.
Looking deep to the end zone, too far, intended for number 21, Sarah Ekval. Quarenta will pick it up and go the other way. Moreno. Was a little high, but Quarenta brought it down, no problem. Tejeda. Pretty active mark here from the Swedes, and Claren comes through. Catch block, looking to the end zone, and just like that, Sweden on the end line. Claren, Uda Claren to the end zone, caught for the goal. Frida Turna grabs that one to give the 6-3 lead in Sweden after giving up a couple of consecutive goals, is now back on the board and reasserted themselves in this game. We'll have the afternoon off here as we might go ahead and take some look around London and see some sights. I know some of the camera crew is like, David Price is shaking his head. I guess you've seen it all here in London. But if humor me here, if you were bringing a tourist through London, what would you show them? What's the tour that you're going to put them through? By the way, nice catch there on the laminated score report going away.
I'm very fortunate to live in London, and two, fortunate to live right in the centre of town. And so I would take them on a walking tour, because I think it's the best way to see a city is on your feet, and you understand how big the city is, and you'd go from like Big Ben, obviously, the Houses of Parliament, up through the mall and through Trafalgar Square, and all the way up to the rest of the city.
Sounds really romantic, David. Maybe we'll get to that some night later this week. Mexico taking the disc after the out-of-bounds pull, and we'll see more zone from Sweden. The defenders, 3 around the disc, and then 3 more downfield, and then another deep. Trying to contain this Mexican offense. Disc is being swung, but it's really hard against these tough, long athletes that really cut off all the angles. What's your strategy when you go up with somebody that you're not used to having mark you that's a little bit taller than you?
This has happened to me many times. Even though I'm quite a tall player, I still come across those freak 7-footers, including the well-known Dave Seeley on GB Masters. And a thing that I would try and use is try and fake early and fake often to try and get them moving and get them off balance. That way you're given an open option elsewhere on the field. For me, that's probably one of the best ways of getting your mark moving, and therefore giving you an option. And that's kind of what we see Mexico doing here. You can see very early on, they're faking hard just to get the defense moving.
They're trying to run through textbook fundamentals, but after a series of passes, it's not going to work out. Pass falls short of the target, and Sweden will have a short field to work with, looking to bring it within 1.5. Quick flip out to space. Caught. No, going to be a turnover. A little screened here. Mexico going the other way. Well, they have been unable to work it so far. And right back to the Swedes after a drop. More quick movement. Get it to Tim. Tim's going to help double swing it around. Fall back to Tim. Turner. Looking for an option. Just short of the end zone. Dahl. Dahl pivoting. Looking for anybody. Quick foot back, and now some conversation from Turner. There's going to be a pick on the field, but maybe Sweden could use a bit of direction themselves. A little bit of chaos in the end zone. Turner. Finding Tim. Tim lofts one to the back corner, and that one's going to be good. Finding Uda Claren in the back corner, going to blow up 7-3.
Yeah, I think the Mexicans have changed to this zone, and I don't think it's working in their favor. It's good at initially slowing down the play, but once the Swedes are through, or once they cough up the disc to the Swedes, they take advantage, particularly in this instance with that high floaty disc into the back of the end zone. We've had a question from Twitter asking us about the left/right arm movements from the advisors, kind of like they're directing a plane. I believe that is them counting in when there are turns or when the disc goes out of bounds, so that there are no delays of the game. There is a rule in the WUFTF rules about the player can start stalling. Once they've reached 10, they can then start stalling proper because it's a delay of the game.
Yeah, maybe they would make great airline employees. Who knows? You have 5 airports we were just discussing around here in London that you could go to. A little bit of cross-training, getting ready. Game advisors are the best in the world. They're the only ones in the world. But they are the best. Mexico back on offense, down 7-3. And more zone here from the Swedes. And correct me if I'm wrong here, David, it looks like the same zone that's been frustrating them all game long.
I think we've seen 2 zone looks, but this is the one that seems to be most prevalent, especially going this way, where the wind is going from left to right to the screen. And a couple little cheeky hammers from the Mexicans are giving them the side to side, but they're not really puncturing through at the moment. And I think that's the way they could beat this zone. Like that, going through the cup and taking on the options they're given. Oh, an unfortunate drop.
Mistakes has been the name of the game here for both teams as some of these possessions go long, but nonetheless, Sweden will have a chance to break for half, and they're going to move it quickly. The crowd's starting to get into it. A little bit of Mexican support from the sideline. Hovgaard gets it off. Looking for Anderson. Nielsen swings the disc. Good movement here from the Swedes. They're looking to capitalize and take an 8-3 commanding lead. Arned. Quick flip. Fantastic movement leads to the goal. That's going to take us to half. Sweden goes up 8-3.
I think that was the best offense we've seen from the Swedes. That last point really punctures a hole in the half for the Mexicans, taking on a few breaks and a nice little flip into the end zone. Very well played by Sweden in this half.
We'll see if Mexico can respond with a little better play here. They're down 8-3 in the first half. This is WUGC coverage here in London, 2016, brought to you by WUFTF. I'm Brian Jones for David Price. We'll be back here in the second half in just a few minutes. division. Sweden leading 8-3 over Mexico, and Sweden will be in the fortunate position to get the disc back to start the second half. Mexico going to need a lot of help defensively to get back into it. Immediately hitting number 25, Hofgaard, going deep to the end zone, caught for the goal. Sweden right back to it, up 9-3.
Exactly how they finished that half with it. A very good bit of offense, and using exactly what we talked about in the first half, their height.
And pretty simple there, right? At some point, it's just you're bigger, you're taller, you're faster. What are you going to do? You're going to put it deep. And
You can't teach tall.
we've tried. We put people in the lab. It doesn't work out too well.
Oh, yeah, I've got all sorts of experiments going on. Boys in like manure to make them stretch.
Well, we were just talking about Jeff Babbitt, so I don't know if we want to get involved with your crazy experiments over there. I'm not sure what you're quite doing here in England, but here we have in the U.S. we have a creature called Jeff Babbitt. Actually, he's a wonderful fellow. Saying the word fellow now, this is what's happening when you get to London. For those who don't know, maybe not tuning in, but one of the star players in the U.S. college scene has been Jeff Babbitt. He has played for Boston Ironside and is right now a free agent potentially in the club scene, but is also playing for the New York Empire and Pro as Mexico. Looking to get back in this game, they're now 9-3, and your face just kind of dropped off there, David. What did you see?
That throw in the reset had zero spin on it. I'm sure she just tossed it up, but you know, their receiver had some faith there, but sadly she threw it straight away. I don't know what the Swedes are doing either. They're kind of sitting off quite far, even in their zone.
Pretty common to hear a rule that's not true, which is that in high school, a lot of high schoolers claim that the disc has to travel one full rotation. Great grab by Claren. Uda Claren using her face to get to the disc. Anything to make sure you get the layout. And that we've seen that throughout this game where Sweden just expects to make those highlight reel type plays. Just moving from side to side. Claren going deep. Contested pass, great box out. Briglinson looking for the swing. More quick movement. The Swedes just very confident, very loose. Breaking through this defense of Mexico without any care. Not sure what we just heard, but coach was calling for something particular. Looking to the end zone. Quick flip. Claren gets the bookends. Starts it off here, not the bookends, but saves possession with her face and then does the honors with her hands in the end zone. Grabbing the goal for Sweden.
What we've seen a couple times now from Sweden is breaking around the back of the zone and taking a half-pitch deep shot to a streaking Swedish player, taking advantage of that height like we've mentioned throughout the game, and from then on just working it into the end zone, and that's really paying off for them. I think the Mexicans did a good job of trying to hold the Swedes around the end zone, but just couldn't manage the quick disc movement of the Swedes.
It's been an uphill battle to say the least here for Team Mexico, a team that it was a matter of who could actually attend the tournament that played more of a role in the selection, and you see that sometimes with these young teams sending a lot of different players. Thankfully, though, Malafarma was able to send the majority of the team, and so there's some chemistry there, and then got some help from Emilia Quarenta of Madison Heist. Another chance here on offense. And we have some cheering section. And that's one of the greatest parts here about these international tournaments is you go to U.S. tournaments, very serious, and I imagine British tournaments are very sarcastic.
Yes, occasionally there's a bit of sarcasm, especially seen upon some of our media in Reddit, etc. But yeah, the highlights of these tournaments, definitely the international presence. We see cheers from the likes of Colombia and Mexico and the Japanese. And Mexico going deep.
Looking to the end zone. Number 21 reels it in for the score. Sarah Rivera brings it in, and straightened celebration, crawling on the ground looking for high fives, and everybody's going to join them. Not sure if this is an implementation of mini tanks, and I think it may very well be mini tanks, but not enough time to finish off that. Yes, Mexico gets at the board here, 10-4.
Something to highlight there was the style of the throw that was the assist. Instead of what you will see mostly from the Swedes, which is probably a bit more higher, floatier huck, from the Mexicans there, we see a very direct, very low huck. And we see that a lot with the South American and Central American teams who rely on their speed over height. The hucks will be very direct in the same third and be moving very quickly down the field.
I know Americans get a bad rap for the geography, but you do know that Mexico's in North America, right?
Yes, I do, but I was just also highlighting the other American nations.
Come to London, you have to give some geography lessons here to David Price.
It's fine. I'll give you some English lessons later.
No, thank you. I'll stick with my aluminum, not my aluminium. Mexico pulling a bit of a flat poach look, trying to do some switches, and Sweden finds the open receiver, looking deep, wide open, rips a backhand, going to the end zone, up 11-4. Great rip there by Harriet Anderson. Finding Dahl in the end zone.
Just as I mentioned, quick and whippy hucks, the Swedes prove me wrong and show that they can do the same, particularly going in this sort of upwind, sidewind side. And a lovely little put there by Anderson. Sweden taking a commanding lead, 11-4.
This one may be out of reach for Mexico, but one of the things that we've talked about throughout this tournament is that every single game here is such a big opportunity to improve upon really anything as a squad, your mental focus, the skills on the field, and something you can really take back for years to come. And if you were Mexico and you're the coach, what are the couple of things that you're going to focus on and take away from this game that you want to prove upon?
I think it's playing against more established teams, so they're taking the experience of what is maybe a more established Ultimate Nation and learn from those different looks that they're going to be getting. And here it's playing against a team that are taller and have different defensive looks they're maybe not used to, and how they can manage that and what plans they can make for that.
Another turnover. It's not been a clean game here for the Mexicans. Sweden going the other way. Anderson swings the disc. That one's going to be too far. Give it right back. Mexico going the other way. As you said, there is something to be said to getting used to facing the pressure and different defensive looks from other teams. And not only that, but Worlds is sort of a status symbol. You get to go home and talk about playing at Worlds and playing against all these teams and names that people have heard of, compete against the very best. I think no matter who the player, they would love that. And a great block. Sweden doing it again. And this time it's Nelly Anderson coming through, getting fully horizontal. Sweden's defensive pressure has been intense. And a quick flip for the goal. Tim puts it into the end zone, gets the assist. It's going to be Regnell reeling it in for the goal. That one's a pretty easy one for Regnell. They're going to go up. It's been a pretty easy game here for Sweden. They're up 13-4. Going to be 12-4, excuse me. The pressure just keeps on coming. And in the women's division, David, we know some of the favorites. Where do you think Sweden stands after watching this game?
Well, in their pool, they have quite a tough pool with Japan, who they've played already and lost to. Belgium and New Zealand are the other two contestants within their pool, and I think of those second three, they're gonna find it hard to get out of. They've really got to play a tough game a good game, to get out of the pool. But I think they might come third in the pool, putting them in the sort of middle eight, next eight, of the tournament.
That's exactly where they would want to be in one of their stated goals. And they said, we asked them, well, where do you want to be? And they said, quarterfinals. Why not? Why not? Not necessarily coming in with confidence, but it's looking like that seems like a realistic expectation here for the Swedish squad. That pole is going to go out of bounds. Mexico will take it at the brick. As we kind of move our focus throughout the entire tournament, David, as Mexico's going to take it to the brick, what are the games and matchups that you're most looking forward to?
I really want to see the Australian mixed team playing against a bigger team, a bigger nation, so Canada, America, obviously, and even against the GB team, who have been very dominant in their game so far also. I think the Australians have one of the best chances of closing that gap. So I think that'll be an exciting game to watch.
It was only a couple of years ago that Australia actually sent a mixed team to U.S. Open, winning it all over the mixed teams in the U.S. and another international. But this is a different story here, competing against a mixed U.S. team where the majority of players actually were playing in the Open and Women's division. And another run through D. It keeps on coming for Sweden. This time it's Sarah Eklund getting a piece of the pie. Eklund has played a huge impact, a huge role here on the offensive side, catching a lot of deep passes so far, but this time coming up on the defensive end. Sweden's moving right out to it, to the end zone for the score, and Sweden's looking to put this one away early. They're ready for bed and trying to put Mexico there as well. They're going to be up 13-4.
Yeah, I think the Mexicans have lost their focus a little. Straight off that term, they weren't able to really apply any pressure to the Swedes, who swung that disc from this sideline to the far sideline and found that inside shot very quickly indeed. Now with a 9-point lead in the beautiful sun of this St. Albans field.
So let me ask you a question. How often do you actually see the sun here in London? Because I know that it seems like a rare event so far.
Well, actually, to put it into perspective, in these 2 days we've had a couple hours of rain and a lot of sun. But yes, you're right, summer here is a bit wet often. But when it says sunny, I think it's lovely. So I kind of compare it to, I don't know, where in the US has similar rain, maybe like San Francisco. You know, kind of changeable.
Seattle also known for its rain, and there's a lot of Seattleites actually here, and so the U.S. teams were talking about that they have people prepared for this type of weather. It does make a difference, as Mexico is going to try to put a few more on the board here, maybe just for pride, but just trying to get a little bit better. Just swung back. Mojica. The around. So tough for the Mexicans to get it past these long marks of the Swedes. Find Moreno. Going deep. This one will get there, but no, smacked down by number 11, Maria Bringlinson. Sweden's been all over the field, and there's not been many passes that haven't been at least defended well by the Swedes. It's been very tough as they turn it away, giving it right back to the Mexicans. That's been another problem they might need to solve going into the next round of play if they're going to plan on beating one of the big three. Mojica dishes it back. Moreno up the line. Wicochio. Short hammer. The swing going to the back of the end zone. This one's going to float. Claren was in this area, but a foul is going to be called. Looking for Andrea Peralta.
I love that little dinky hammer to get the disc across the pitch. And the deep shot there, I thought she'd read it very well, but not able to keep hold of it. I think the foul has been uncontested, so she gets on the front of the end zone line. There's a bit of confusion on the field. She taps it in, but she gets to keep the disc if it's a foul. Okay, we're in. So Mexico on the front of the end zone line.
Play still has yet to be restarted. And I gotta say, I'm giving you a hard time here, David, with just making you the sole representative here of London. But I gotta say, so far the food's been pretty good. I had a bit lower expectations coming in, and so far you've overachieved. So, on behalf of the Americans, I'm the sole representative, of course. Thank you for bringing the food here.
Well, I guess there aren't enough burgers and pizza for you, but if you go into central London, you'll find a very wide range of food, and due to the diverse nature of London, you'll find all sorts of things.
You've been a person that's traveled to the U.S., traveled to different parts of the world. If there's one thing you had to try here in London, what would it be?
It'd have to be roast dinner for me, the quintessential British Sunday roast, which consists of a meat, say chicken, lamb, whatever, beef, roasted, along with some potatoes, roast potatoes with gravy, Yorkshire pudding, something you may not know of, which is it's made with like a pancake batter and then put in a dish and then cooked. You put all and it makes like a still like pudding thing, and you can put all your veg in there and your gravy. It's peach perfect.
Ladies, he's single, and he'll take you on a walking tour through London and then treat you to a nice roast dinner. And we've already got one contestant here, Katie, ready to go. Katie, our statistician. What's your last name, Katie? Yeski. Katie Yeski, all the way from Alaska. She's been helping us out here with some stats, especially in the main field. We're on pitch 2. And after the timeout call, we're about to get restarted. Mexico with the disc on the line. The Peralta looking for the option break, decides to go backwards with it. Back to Peralta, catch for the goal. Peralta will put one on the board. 13-5, Sweden leads. Sweden with a commanding lead here in the late stages of the game. And we'll start getting into power pools, I believe, tomorrow in a few divisions. Different formats across, depending on the number of teams. Something you can certainly find on wiftif.org.
Probably the best place to go is the live schedule, which you'll find on the World's official site. I think it's WGC2016.org. And there you'll find the live schedule. There's also a fixed PDF, which I think they update, especially when we get into power pools and racket play. Sweden now on offense.
Looking to close out this game. Quick swing. And a flip, looking for Lindroth. Harned. One-handed grab by Hovgaard. The Swedish offense moving it quickly, in no fear striking deep. Looking for the sliding grab, but not there. Harriet Anderson can't make the catch. Mexico, after the turnover, has a jailbreak situation. They're trying to do a give and go all the way up the field. We'll see if the defense finally catches up, and they do. A bit of a soft, tight person defense, and another block. This time Maha Lindroth comes through and gets it done. Sweden going the other way. Lindroth. Another pass to the sideline. Is going to give it to Eklund. He's played a big role here in the deep space. Anderson touching this a lot to the end zone for the score. Pretty throw puts Sweden up 14-5.
Just to give the Mexicans a little bit of fame here, they did a very good job there of breaking out of jail. It's just very unfortunate that once the Swedes locked down on them, they weren't able to keep the disc moving any longer. And I think that's something that they can take from this game, that whilst they're moving the disc quickly, they're most lethal. But they need to work on some way of breaking out of that and potentially breaking the force more efficiently to be able to get into the same position again and not be afraid of what might be a better team. However, Sweden doing a very good job, and again we see that a lovely backhand into that corner to take the game to within one of this win.
Up 14-5 here in our last game of the day. Just getting going here this week. We'll have more coverage coming through Tuesday through Saturday. We'll be doing the finals. An errant pass, possibly a miscommunication, is going to give Sweden the chance to break for the win. And so Frida Turna picks it up and doesn't waste any time getting it going. Another quick flip. Tim takes the high release. Decides to go around. Looking for the inside. Back for Dahl. And the give and go, pointing out directions to the end zone. Not quite there. Niersen. Anderson. Plays coming all around this game as the inside break goes up, and that's going to do it. Sweden runs away with a 15-5 win over Team Mexico. Just too much to handle. It was 5-3 at one point. Mexico looked like they were going to get back in the game, and the athleticism, the height of Team Sweden was just simply too much.
Yeah, early on, even though the Swedes came out with a very strong start, I thought the Mexicans did very well to get back in the game. Had a few little runs in the middle, some nice quick offense, but as Brian suggests, the taller, more athletic and more experienced at this level nation of Sweden came out with the win.
They'll walk away with the 15-5 victory here on pitch 2 of the showcase field. That's going to do it for us. For David Price, for the rest of the WIFDIF crew, thanks for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with our first game early on in the morning and possibly some other games, so stay tuned to our live schedule to figure it out. I'm Brian Jones. Thanks for listening in. This is WIFDIF's coverage here of the 2016 World Ultimate and Guts Championships.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.